Good morning, Mike. I just figured out that I can I can leave the I can leave the stream. I guess I just left the stream and it didn't bump you off, or maybe it did bump you off. I don't know. We'll see. Good morning. Did we talk about where you are? I'm sure we talked about where you are in some other video, but I'm terrible at retaining information. Where are you? Where are you, Mike? Oh, cool. You're heading to the gym. Excellent. Minnesota, that's reasonably close to Michigan, yes? It's like right over there. It's like just over that way just a little bit, right? hmm I love how you say drivable. You say drivable. You know, I'm actually planning um, my next trip back to Brooklyn, which I think is 15. It ends up being about a 15-hour drive. And I'm thinking probably what makes Minnesota so far from is that you have to go around the lake, right? I'm guessing. Speaking of drivable, you're not texting and driving, are you? Not to put you on the spot. I don't know. I don't even know because in Michigan there's not really laws against texting, which is just doesn't make any sense to me at all. That okay. So if it's 10 hours from your door to Detroit, it is likely 10 hour. It's probably the same distance back to um, New York City. It's about it. You know, if I don't stop at all, I can make that trip in 10 hours. Um, but clearly, it's not a trip that I can make without stopping. There need to at least be, you know, bathroom breaks and stuff like that. Cool. So interestingly, I actually got on early. Hey, vegan sister, welcome. Yeah. Um, so just letting folks kind of come trickling in. Got a couple of things. There's a couple of things, a couple bits of news to share. It's another one of those days. I just finished a smoothie. I was, putzing around here. I actually tried to get myself all ready early because I wanted to catch. Oh, well, there's more about that. I'm going to talk about that. So what I was gonna say was I was gonna catch Juice's broadcast this morning, but I don't know if Juice did a broadcast this morning. But I haven't caught his broadcast, but I wanted to see. I think it's Juice and his partner. I don't know if it's his. I don't know if they're it's his spouse or what they're. But um, I feel like Juice is a pair. Juice is a pair. But yeah, I didn't catch. There was nothing, and I was also trying to catch Happy Healthy Vegan last night, but apparently they didn't do a broadcast. So I'm going to try to catch them next week in the evening. Okay, so vegan sister, in response to your question, even without that person, the drama still continues because now there's people are there were a lot of things that were said and a lot of threads that, hey, Jordan, morning, and good morning to you now, a new person who is watching. Welcome. Um, wow, it must be a really slow day because it's telling me that I'm number one on vegan, or maybe just vegan is not very popular these days. So maybe I'm the last vegan. Do I get to, if I'm the last vegan, do I get to change the definition up to what I want it to be? Um, oh, well, then there you go. There you go. I'm just give it up because Jonas is a really, really we're talking about Jonas Sunshine, yes? Interesting dude, fun dude. Anyway, so who knows? Maybe we'll just have a quiet little intimate chat here for a little while and see what happens. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But just in terms of that drama, yeah, talking about EC, yeah. So there are folks apparently um, after EC was blocked from the channel. Apparently he's still able to post. So whatever. Um, but what it means is, for some reason, some people can still see his post and other people can't. And so there are threads where people are reading his comments and then replying. And so then other people are seeing the thread and all they see is what they've posted. And then this like maybe kind of aggressive response. And so people are starting to respond back and forth to each other as if they're in a debate and like it was something that was never intended to them. And it's happened to me. I had somebody call me something that I knew wasn't connected to me at all. So basically there are still kind of ongoing yeah, so Jordan, you're one of the people who can't see him, but there are other people who can see him, and it's gotten really confusing. And so I think it's going to take a little while for I think there's still going to continue to be fallout, and I think it's really sad. So I probably have to make a video about that, which I really don't want to. It's not like I have a problem talking about it, but I just don't want to give that. I don't want to give the negativity any more power than it already has. And for the most part, people are just kind of doing their thing and coming in and doing their thing. But, it's just stinks. I should let you guys know what's been said. So, yeah, so everyone, I see, Jordan says, I see everybody replying to him. I can't see him. Hey, Raw Access. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you're following. Let me see what's going on. Vegan Sister says I cannot see him. Same. I think it has to do with if they were part of a thread before the block, they can still see him. Yeah, maybe that is what's going on, which in some ways makes sense, but in other ways, I don't know. So yeah, Al, is Al? Is it you, Al, or is it Brittany? I'm guessing when I see raw access and I see a thumbnail with your face on it, Al, that it's you. So I'm assuming it's Al. So yeah, so that maybe that's I feel like I figured it was you. Hey, Al. So yeah, so I figured that was actually something that I wanted to talk about, not just that particular person, but the whole idea of if one is trying to be more of a moderator in the comments section, which I have the luxury of doing because my channel is really small. It's almost like I almost feel like I'm inviting people to my home. Hey, hey, Nick, Redneck to Vegan. We might hear about the rattlesnake roundup. I watched that video and would love to get to hear from you a little bit about that. Folks who don't know, Redneck to Vegan went to a rattlesnake roundup yesterday and posted a video about it, and it was actually a far more complex issue than I thought it was going to be. I just expected to be horrified, but it ended up like some of those conversations ended up being a little bit more new. One needs a little bit more nuanced analysis of the whole thing, it seems, before coming to conclusions. In the end, there are animals being exploited, and and the exploitation of those animals, you know, is a bad thing. Just the fact that it's a show is a bad thing. But the use of rattlesnake venom and the milking of rattlesnakes, basically is how we get a lot of cures that people completely take for granted, and I had no idea. And again, if it was, so this we're at this whole idea of, like, as far as practicable, right? As far as possible and practicable. I don't know. So it was really, really complicated. So I hope we'll hear a little bit about that. Morning, Lily K, or I should say evening, Lily K, because I think it's probably it's 5 p.m. in France. Yes, you're in Paris, right, Lily? All right, so Nick posted a link here. I'm going to try to grab it, copy it, and paste it. Y'all know I have to be really careful because I've lost complete streams trying to do too much. But I will check out. I will check out what you posted, Nick. Yeah. So getting back to this idea of really curating, moderating comment sections, and it's a luxury to be able to do that. I know people who have people with channels where they are getting hundreds of comments, thousands of views per video. It would just be, it's implausible to think that they could monitor every single comment. But what I'm realizing is that because I tend to be a moderator in the comment section, there seems to be an expectation that I'm aware of everything that's happening in the comment section, which is not true. And of course, with any complications, like some people being able to see comments, other people not being able to see comments, it gets into this place. Hey, Tom McDonald, it gets into this place where it's just really impossible to really, as one person, maintain a safe space. And so I guess the question is, like, how do we deal with it? And when I say safe space, I don't mean a space free from conflict, but I mean a space where people feel like they're not going to just get called names and be, brutalized. Thanks for becoming a fan, Tom McDonald. Oh, that's cool. You downloaded the app just to come and say hello? That is awesome. Thank you so much. Redneck the Vegan says, the number of snakes has been in sharp decline over the last few years. Only 23 were caught last year. In years in the past, it was normal to have numbers more like 120 to 150. I did notice, Redneck to Vegan, it seemed to me that the roundup that you remember from 15 years ago has changed significantly, and it seemed that, and it may just be that PETA is really a name for animal rights organizations that jump to people's minds, but it seems like there's been work done on the animal rights front to reduce and to at least have some, restrain the way that these snakes are being dealt with. So, there's seems to be far more concern around animal rights and animal cruelty, and the tone that was taken by a particular woman in your video, Nick, led me to believe that it was more common to be more respectful and to talk about the animals not as, not even as food, right? And but that's something that you can talk about if you want to come, if you want to jump on and guest and talk about that. That would be cool. Um, I, been kind of monitoring what's been going on. For those of you who are out of the United States, there's stuff going on. Things continue to go on, and it seems right now what has people most concerned is Trump's stance on immigration, Trump's stance on refugees and refugees finding asylum in the United States. He's strongly opposed to that. There are actually two actions taking place in New York. I'm not in New. I'm sorry, taking place in Detroit. One of them, I believe, is going to be in Hamtramck. From 2 to 3, there's an action that's taking place in Hamtramck on the steps of Hamtramck City Hall here in Michigan. Well, Hamtramck is a city that is located within the confines of the Detroit city limits. So there's Detroit, and then there's this kind of neighborhood that is a city in itself. There's actually two of them. One is Highland Park, one is Hamtramck. So people who are in the Detroit area, at 2 o'clock today, there's going to be an action protesting Trump's stance on immigration. And then there will be another action. There's going to be another action later, and they're not announcing the location of that. So I don't want to put that on blast, because there might be a reason that they're being careful about it. So again, here we're on YouTube, and so I don't want to put them on blast. But there's another action being planned, a nonviolent action being planned for 4 o'clock. But they're not announcing the location, and I think it's basically because they don't want to get it shut down. So I hear you. I've guessed it too much. I will again in the future, but not today. I want to hear other voices than my own. However, still 143 best. That's a redneck to vegan. Jordan says, and he's trying to reopen pipelines through native land. Yes, that's another thing that he's trying to reopen the possibility of the pipeline going through. The whole protest of Standing Rock was centered around the stopping of this pipeline through native lands, and he's back at that. So that's another big issue. He is full force in trying to build this wall between the U.S. and Mexico, and it's just so blatant. Not to mention, there's all these shenanigans. There's been leaks from the administration that people are already very disheartened by what is happening in the White House right now. We're talking about people on the staff. There was an article in the Washington Post just a couple of days ago, and you can look up, staff aide leaks. Here's Earthling Carl. Earthling Carl says, Reg, you have called me a racist multiple times. I've actually never called you a racist. I've categorized many things that you've done as racist, and I stand behind that statement. If you want to guess, we can talk about this. There's no need for us to go back and forth in the comments section. Because I'm happy to air any grievance that you have about me or my channel. So I tend not to call people racist. Tend not to categorize people as things. I tend to categorize people's behavior in particular ways. I think, calling people things is that's an oppressive tactic that I try to avoid. I'm not going to say that I've never done it, but what I attempt to do is categorize people's behavior. Tanisha Scotsman, it's your first time on YouNow. Welcome to YouNow, and welcome to this broadcast. So a couple of things that the conversation we're having right now is about Donald Trump and his first week in office, and how much damage people feel is done. There are people up in arms. People are, I got one email from an organization in Detroit where they were saying resistance is now the new normal. Like it's the new normal. And honestly, I think resistance should be normal. I think that we should be willing to voice our concerns about things that we feel are unjust in our society. I think that that's healthy. That's what people kind of talk about. That's the whole idea behind freedom of speech, right? Freedom of assembly. These are things that are granted to us in the Constitution. Veganista says, my prediction, Trump will resign as president. He knows he's not qualified and is preparing his supporters for his next move, Trump TV. This is so bizarre to me, to have a president that no one seems to be standing behind. And what I thought we'd have more of were people coming forward and, the crybaby, all of that stuff. That's kind of settled down as people are seeing that things that he talked about in his campaign, the word was, well, he's not really going to do that. He's not really going to try to build a wall. He's being, it's a metaphor. But it's not. People are seeing that he was absolutely serious. He intends to do these things. And, people are describing it as buyer's remorse. And people feel like they backed the wrong person. Now, I don't want to say, I wouldn't say that, I want Hillary to get in there and take his place. I'm not looking for that either. But, that people are realizing that they need to participate more if they want to see a different type of society. People need to be more engaged, more involved, more informed, and people are figuring that out. It's not a joke. You don't put someone in office, out of spite. And it seems to me that there was a segment of the population that was just so tired of the status quo that it was like a big, screw you to the establishment. But it's not a screw you to the establishment. The establishment is, very much in control. And to have someone who is willing to kind of wreak havoc on civil liberties in office is a good thing for the establishment. So, Roxas says, Hillary is horrible. I have never before and never in the past, never. I missed something here. You guys are going so fast. Please respond, everyone. Have you seen... oh my goodness. Have you seen TV commercials to promote Jeff Safran's confirmations? It is not perfect. His attacks are ridiculous. I have never before, never in the past. Okay, and I'm thinking redneck to vegan. You're talking about the Jeff Sessions confirmation. Trump is change, real change, and it is going to be painful, and it certainly isn't the change I wanted. Vegan Sister, I haven't seen it. Five ever is no one level above forever. Five ever is one level above forever. That's interesting, Tom McDonald. I want to know more about what you mean by five ever is one level above forever. And I see you're kind of teasing, but I still want to know what it is. It sounds like you've got a clever thing happening here. I find it... there are commercials for a cabinet confirmation. Yeah, that is really interesting. That to campaign to pass a choice, right? Tom McDonald, I don't watch TV. I don't blame you, Tom McDonald. I don't watch network television at all. And honestly, I'm starting to find that getting news from the internet is not much better. Earthling Carl says, of course you won't respond, VS. You don't want to acknowledge reality. Okay, Carl, like I said, if you want to get into it, this is my live stream. Get into it with me. Come on, there's no reason to be squabbling back and forth with people in the chat. That's silly. You have if you want to, I'm offering you a platform if you want to speak. Plant Style says, hello Plant Style. I'm very good, Plant Style. Thank you. How are you today? Plant Style says. Vegan Sister, thanks. When you are in Tally, we will go on a. Y'all, I'm getting some. Now I'm jealous. Vegan Sister, how you gonna get to see Nick before you see me? You only in Chicago. I gotta get in my car and come see you in Chicago. That's gonna happen now. Don't be surprised when I pull up in my little red Honda Civic. Honda Element. Okay. It was a little joke about Vegan Sister saying she was responding to okay, all right, I see. All right, so there's little things going on. All right, come on, come on. Here's Carl, you guys, who wants to come on and talk, I'm guessing. Cool. Hey Winter Wolves. Hey Carly Bryce. Never late, never late. Just glad you're here. Hey, so what's going on? How are you, Carl? You're a little dark. Is it it's a little dark where you are. I'm having trouble seeing you, and I'm also having a little trouble hearing you. Can people hear me? I'm guessing people can hear me. I'm guessing people can hear me. Yes? Can everyone hear me? Am I loud and clear? Carl, people are having trouble hearing you. Is there something that you can do with your microphone or it looks like you're and I'm guessing your name is Carl. Is it Carl? Is it Carl? It seems like you're frozen. That didn't quite work out. Let's see. All right, so we're giving that another thanks for the likes, Plant Style. I don't know what your setup is, Carl. I don't know what your setup is. I could hear you faintly, which means that you have something that's picking up sound where you are. Oh, y'all, come on now. We're gonna be nice. We're gonna, you know. No. So, okay, so that wasn't able to happen. But yeah, so, ooh. Okay, so I just had something really weird happen. Can you guys still hear me? You guys can still hear me? Okay, so Carl, it's still like I said, this is in this forum, I'm totally welcomed. You're welcome in this forum. We the channel thing is a whole other thing, and we can obviously continue having conversations about that. And you can also feel free, you can always email me. If you look at my the about section on YouTube, you can always send me a private email at my email address, and we can work some things out. Um, but so there's a couple of conversations that are going on now. So we were having the conversation about Donald Trump. We were having the conversation about sort of like moderating. What does it mean to be a moderator? And I feel like I made some statements that I don't really stand behind. When I listened to the mukbang from yesterday, I feel like I'd categorized young people. I talked about I said an 18-year-old with 200,000 subscribers or 2 million subscribers, and I said it must be really difficult to manage that. And then I made a comment about how I don't think people are really responsible for what happens in their comment section, and I don't want it to come off like I was being disparaging against young people. I was being simply saying that I don't think that people are very responsible with their viewers and the comments that their viewers make, and I can just look down and you can see the terribly you know, the hate speech that appears in those sections, and it's probably because it's just too much to manage. Hey, Mad Blender. But as someone who really does try to moderate in my comment section, it's really difficult. So I'm wondering if folks have, especially if you're a content creator, if you have thoughts about that. Actually, anybody, because if you're a viewer, if you're a YouTube viewer and you're in the comment section, you're commenting and you're feeling that people, you know, are under the attack, are on the attack, you know, what do you expect from the people who are, you know, hosting those channels? What types of behavior do you expect from them? So I'm not going to try to scroll up because I missed some things. It says, Earthling Carl, you did support a racist reg, though. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Holistic EQ is a racist. Can you admit that? It's just blah, 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 blah. I will say this about holistic EQ. Holistic EQ will cuss you out, and she will call you an albinoid. She will call you every name under the sun. I think that there's some bigotry in that, but I think mostly it's just somebody being angry and responding to what they consider racism, right? So someone responding to racism and saying, you know, like if you call me a name and I say F you, right? That's language that I don't approve of, that kind of language, but that kind of stuff happens. So to categorize again someone as a racist for using, you know, speech that, was it hateful speech? Yes, it was hateful speech. Was it hateful speech directed at you? Yes, it was hateful speech and it was directed at you. Is it the way that I would have dealt with that situation? No. And I've actually had conversations with HQ offline talking about that. And if you really follow the comment section carefully, you'll see that there was a point where she said, you know what, I'm going to chill out and I'm going to monitor myself better. So if you're really paying attention to the way things are happening and the flow of the conversation, you would know that I don't condone a racist. But I'm going to say this: if you come at somebody in a way that is hurtful to them, I'm not going to be like, yo, don't respond. I'm not going to tell people how to do it. I'm not going to police the comment section to make it safe for ignorance, right? If you say something that's ignorant and you get called out 6 different kinds of ways, then that's really, you have to be responsible for that, right? That was your ignorance. What I might say to the person is, you know, course correct here. Let's try to keep it civil. And then what I might say to the person is, do you notice that there are people, 10 people in this forum are all dragging you right now? And you don't seem to get that things that you've said are, being taken as hurtful, right? I'm not saying that you're saying them to be hurtful, but the impact is that there's people are hurt, and people, you know what I mean? Mexi wrote you a book about it, right? Mexi wrote you a book about it, and I really was like, Mexi, you need to write a book, because the way she talked about it, the way she kind of tried to set you straight, I thought was really, really respectful. And I hope that you were able to understand what she was trying to express. And I hope that you ultimately are going to be able to make some course corrections based on this. And when you're able to make those course corrections, I would love to welcome you back to the channel to be able to make comments. But as it stands, like, there are people fighting with each other because of stuff that you said, and then when they responded, they thought it was you. You know what I'm saying? And when you're in every thread and what you're saying is off topic, it's hard for people to know who's saying what to who. So that's just being responsible and being able to say. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Carl. I don't think you care that much. I don't think you care that much about what you're saying. I don't think you care that much about the topic. I don't think you've given it consideration. I certainly don't think that you've studied. to learn about systems of oppression and how they relate to capitalism, for example. I don't think you've studied those things. And so I can only wonder why you would say these things and how you feel that saying them is helpful, hopeful, or healing. And you're a vegan. And you're supposed to care about exploitation. That's what being a vegan is, regardless of how people might try to shift that definition. It's about caring about exploitation. And it's about having respect for life. And I don't necessarily get that from you, right? I don't necessarily get that from you. How can you question, Tom McDonald says, how can you question your role in the oppression that is speciesism, but not other oppressions? Carl says, I believe black can be who they want to be. White supremacy is not real. See, this is another thing. Okay, so obviously, Carl, you don't believe white supremacy is not real. I know you don't believe that. So I don't even see a need to respond to that. I can imagine that being said is only being said because it lights a fire for some people. But when I hear that, I'm like, okay, this is somebody who just clearly doesn't know. Because if he cared, he'd know. He wouldn't say that. If white supremacy were not real, I would not be speaking English right now. And English wouldn't be so present in the world. Considering the population of England and the population of, China with 1.2 billion people, the continent of India, 1.2 billion people, the continent of Africa, 1.2 billion people. How many people are in England? How many people are in America? Why does so much of the world speak English? If not because of white supremacy. And another thing is, I don't want people to don't hear white supremacy as a dirty word. White supremacy is simply a mode. It's like people liking the color, right? It's a preference in the world today. It is a position in the world today where whiteness is simply pervasive, right? I express white supremacist ideology, right? The way that I have embraced European culture, the way that I have embraced Western knowledge, has everything to do with white supremacy. I could have studied Africa. I didn't study Africa. I didn't study Asian culture. I didn't study Middle Eastern culture. I studied Western culture. So I'm not saying that. So when people say white supremacy isn't real, it's real. It doesn't necessarily have to, in and of itself, be seen as negative. But what makes white supremacy negative is when we see damage being done to people who are not white and the world not coming to the defense of those people because they're not seen as fully human. Right? So we're also caught up and focused in trying to live this ideology, trying to embrace this culture of whiteness, which is not in and of itself, well, depends on when you think about sort of destructiveness of Western culture, right? The way that Western societies have really just plowed over the world, and the way that continues in places around the world, mostly places where we see, black and brown people, suffering the effects of those actions. But for me to say white supremacy isn't for me to be calling anybody a racist. If I say that is a white supremacist notion, I'm not calling that person a racist. I'm saying it's a white supremacist notion. If I paint a picture and everyone is white. That was my preference. It's a white supremacist view. So, Carl, I feel like you're maybe afraid of this, of the scrutiny that comes along with the realization people have that we live in a white supremacist society. Because I think what happens is people want to say, well, I don't favor one thing over another. And so people might start to investigate ways that they can not have this one lopsided view of the world. Right? So that's what we're talking about. I'm not saying that it's that, you know, liking whiteness is bad, or what I'm saying is, like, let's make some space for other ways to be, other, culture, to embrace ideas that are coming out of other cultures. And one thing that I think in terms of Africans is not so much, there are Africans who are doing very well in the United States, embracing Western culture, right? They're, for all intents and purposes, people who are, operating and emulating, a very Western, a Western way of being, right? The way I speak, right? And there's not enough. We don't. First of all, African culture in the United States, at least, has been decimated. African culture, even in Africa, if you look at the way that amazingly resourced continent has just been stripped, and the people, the native Africans are left hungry, exposed to pollution. I don't think anybody thinks that's cool, and I'm pretty certain that most of us understand that it has something to do with the fact that Europeans and Americans and other people from other countries as well have gone and extracted the resources from Africa, have built up infrastructures in Africa that make it impossible for people who are the natives of that place to have agency, which is a phrase that you've used. And so, Carl, you're asking why I blocked you on YouTube. I blocked you because you don't engage in dialogue. You don't say anything. You don't say anything that's meaningful. All you do is you say the same phrases over and over. You say, you call people racist when they're really just responding to you. You're not bringing any value to the channel. I think you could bring value to the channel. I'm not saying that you are a bad person, but you haven't brought anything of value to the channel. And even after I've spoken to you repeatedly about the impacts that you might be having, you've not corrected your course at all. And so I feel like the only thing that I can do to protect myself and to protect other viewers and people commenting on the videos is to block you. And maybe that's the wrong choice. I'd love to hear from other people. I don't know if it was the right thing to do. I certainly didn't do it to be hurtful. But right now, I can't think of anything else to do. Thanks, Vegan Sister, for the support of that. Really the kind of news that makes me lose hope in humanity. So there are a few different threads going on. I just don't want to lose everyone. Carl, you're not trying to engage in any real conversation, though. You seems to want to antagonize. Earthling Carl, stop projecting your intentions on Reg. Carl, Reg isn't saying that everyone in society everyone in society hates and wants to enslave black people. People are in agreement. Earthling Carl says, watch my latest video. Al was spicy there. I'm not going to reread that. When at an impasse, best thing to do is block. Yep, I mean, we are in 2017 and people are considering color of skin are considering the color of skin to save somebody. I've tried conversing with you numerous times, and you, okay, so like clearly, like if, I don't, and here's the thing, we've had this discussion now. I really feel like, here we are, when we talk about white supremacy, we've spent, I've spent 20 minutes talking about you, when there are so many other issues to discuss, so many things that are so much more important than whether you got blocked or not. And like, what does white supremacy even have to do with that? How have you become so central right now in my live stream? So, I'm gonna let you guys continue discussing it in the chat. I'd like to know if there's anyone else who has something to say on the matter. Again, hey Snitch, welcome. So yeah, if other people have things to say on the matter, I don't know that I necessarily need to repeat myself. I hope I've made myself clear. I hope I've made myself understood. And if, again, Carl, if you want any more clarity, we can discuss it offline. You can email me. I've given you my email. You can check the About section on my YouTube channel. There's an email address that's there. Please do use it. And one-on-one, I'm happy to discuss with you, anything. So let's see. A security measure, but of course you have to spend time processing how you feel about it. Yeah. So interesting. Yeah, we can talk about other things. So we talked about, for those of you who missed it, we had a conversation about Donald Trump and just some of the, litany of things that Donald Trump is doing right now, to wreak havoc. I talked about a lot of them in my mukbang yesterday. So I hope people caught that. Again, I was also announcing that there's an action here in Detroit against, Trump's stance on immigration. And if anybody is in the Detroit area, that is going to be in Hamtramck at Hamtramck City Hall. I unfortunately am not going to be at, there's an action that's later that I might go to, but the Hamtramck action I won't be at because I'm going to be in Highland Park. Actually, something really cool, you guys. I don't know if I've talked about some of the organizations that I'm working with here in Detroit, but one of them is an organization called Solidarity, and I happen to be on the board of directors of this organization. It's a board of just community folks from the community, and one of the things that impresses me most about the organization is that we spend a lot of our time in board meetings being trained on how to be effective leaders. But one thing that we talked about was, because it's Solidarity, the focus is democratically owned power, like energy and clean energy. And one of the things that the organization did last year was bulk purchasing of lights for people to put outside of their homes. If you know Detroit, and Highland Park was affected by this as well, a lot of the street lights have been removed, so it's dark on the streets, which makes it hazardous at night. And so they purchased a ton of lights for people, solar powered lights for people to attach to their homes, and they've purchased so far 6 huge street lights that are solar powered. And another thing that they managed to do was they were able to get donated the parts to build solar generators, and working with another organization here, they made a solar generator that they were able to send to Standing Rock to support the protesters there. And I just felt really cool to be a part of an organization that here while we're in Detroit and the communities that exist within Detroit, like city like Highland Park, that are going through some really tough times for a group of people who have no resources, were able to support our brothers and sisters at Standing Rock just by, some ingenuity, using some ingenuity. So just when you feel like there's nothing that can be done, there is actually a lot that can be done when people pool their resources and use their ingenuity and figure things out and find ways to support movements that may not feel like it affects you directly, but here in Detroit, we understand that what's happening to Detroit is just the beginning of what can happen all over this country. So if it's happening to us and it's happening to someone else, you have to find solidarity. You can't fight just your own battle. You have to be willing to pick up and fight battles for people who necessarily aren't like you. So, oh, Carly Bryce, maybe I'm talking too fast. It's probably because I'm using, a bunch of terms. I don't know. I don't know what I've been rattling on about. I was talking about solar power, and maybe that's something that's making it hard. So that is, do you know of any initiatives that are similar in NYC? And by similar in NYC, Winter Wolf says, do you know of any initiatives that are similar in NYC? Are you talking about initiatives to bring solar power into communities? New York City is such a different landscape. I know of, there was not a best for NYC, but there was a they actually kind of did it like a competition, and they had communities make proposals for ways that they might be able to improve their infrastructure, and I know that neighborhood of Red Hook is working on something called the grid. What was it called? My goodness. You know what? I'm gonna have to make a video about this, Winter Wolves. But there are efforts around the city for people to try to bring more clean community-based energy. But I don't know offhand of an agency. Yeah, I don't know offhand. I can't think of right offhand the name of an organization that's doing it. I know that in the community of Red Hook, they're working for something called, I think it's the Community Power Grid. I think it's called the Red Hook Community Power Grid. And you might even be able to do a search for Red Hook Community Power Grid and find some of the work that's been done around that. I actually was organizing a group of young people to, I can't say what we did, but we did some guerrilla marketing to raise awareness about that. What else? The government limits a homeowner's use of alternative power. For real, absolutely. It's so interesting to me. Like, we know we have some of the answers. Some of the answers we have. It's really a matter of political will. And I think as citizens, we have to get past this idea that, they'll figure it out. They're not going to figure it out. There is a reason why things are the way they are. The political will has to come from us, and it comes from us showing up in large numbers and saying in unified voices what we need. And it doesn't have to be one big laundry list. It can be the things that we know for sure are important, like community-controlled clean energy sources are a necessity. Community-controlled production. We have these laser printers and 3D printers and fabrication machines that can build other fabrication machines. There's no reason why every community doesn't have access to community-controlled production to provide for their basic needs. There is no reason why that doesn't happen. Regnick the Vegan says pedagogue slave. So the pedagogy question has been answered. Are you telling us that when we talk about pedagogy, we're talking about it has links to slavery? Red Hook Community Microgrid. Yes, Winterwolf, the Red Hook Community Microgrid. Thanks for looking that up. Plant Style, thanks for inviting 800 fans to the broadcast. Click Tap Boom, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Send invites, everyone. Thanks, y'all, for your support. I'm glad to have you all here and glad to be engaged in this conversation. So yeah, and I really have to make a point of saying this. I'm on a couple of lists where things are sent out. There's a list called Detroit City of Hope. You might be able to actually look it up and get on the list. It's not like a closed list. It's just where they send out dozens of emails every day about resistance efforts that are going on around the country. I mentioned in my video Cooperation Jackson, and the folks out of Cooperation Jackson. I don't know if they're at the forefront, but there is a movement growing around the country called Ungovernable, and it really has to do with trying to link together all the actions of resistance that are happening around the country so that we're mapping it so people can see you're not alone, that this is happening everywhere. Do look for Cooperation Jackson, and I'm afraid to leave this page because there have been things that have happened. I've lost the stream and all those things, and it's a hot mess. But if you Google Cooperation Jackson, the founder of Cooperation Jackson, you can look at what was going on in Mississippi that caused the founding of Cooperation Jackson, and what's happening there. A lot of work that people are doing are around solidarity economies, building alternatives to capitalism. Because the first thing somebody says when you criticize capitalism, what's the alternative? First of all, if I told you that there was a system that depended on the exploitation of people all over the planet to function, that depended on the violent exploitation and death of people all over the planet for the sake of capital accumulation, right? Which is never talked about when people talk about capitalism. Where does that capital come from? Right? If I told you that there was a system that required the death of 21,000 children around the country, around the world from hunger every day. Do you think, what's the alternative should be the next question? Or should the next question be like, damn, that's not good. That's not working. If 21,000 children have to die every day of starvation, of other preventable causes as the result of the spread of capitalism throughout the world, there should be no discussion. We got to stop that right away. And of course the people who are benefiting most aren't going to do anything. It takes resistance from the majority of us working together and not getting caught up in silly squabbles around who likes who. Don't care who you like, just let's fight oppression. Let's fight for the liberation of those who are exploited, regardless of the color of their skin or where they are in the world. Let's fight for the liberation of those who are continuously the targets of violent exploitation. And if you're a vegan, you've embraced that for animals. But like I said, 21,000 children every day. Don't trust me, look it up. right? And it's not, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Yes, I benefit from capitalism, but I can still recognize that it is a system that is not imperfect. It is deadly, and it's destroying the planet. It's destroying the planet. There's no question that that system needs to be replaced, right? You know, make the road by walking. We can make the road by walking. And, you know, we could use other expressions. You know, we'll jump and build the parachute on the way down, because the result is the same. Not changing is our ultimate demise, and changing could lead to our demise. We're not saying that it's going to work, but we got to do something, right? And it only gets worse. So better to deal with it now. Just deal with it. Casey Neistat's next vid, Muslim ban at JFK Airport. Yeah, that connects to some things that are happening in Detroit as well, redneck to vegan. And do look it up. You could probably find, I'm sure, you know, for folks who are in the United States, you can, if you're in a major city or near a major city, you can likely find some action that's happening today. Some action that's happening today. Wow. Kale Satan says, "What are you chatting about?" I don't know if I was chatting or if I was just ranting. I don't know if I was chatting or ranting. So, you know, all that said, y'all, you know, it's, you know, ultimately it's not about YouTube and our channels and our comment sections and things like that. That's a place where we can convene. But I hope that we're using that opportunity, this coming together, as a chance to think about things that we can do to transform our society, which is so in need of us. You know, our society needs us. This is no time to like double down your hate. This is the time for us to work together. And I'm sorry if you're not interested in working, just get out of the way. It's okay. Just get out of the way. We'll do it without you. You know what I mean? We'll do it without you. No hate on you. No wishing you harm. Just get on board. Let's get this work done, or kindly step aside. Thanks, Kearney. I didn't even know you were here, Kearney. So hey, Vegan Dreams. So all of that said, I see you there, Kearney. Yeah. So all of that said, you all, it's 12:03, and I actually have another meeting today at 1 o'clock. I'm probably gonna go like this. I'm a hot mess today. My shirt's all torn up, but I'll throw a jacket on and make it work. So that's let's call that a shot. We'll pick this up. We'll pick it up next week. And again, for, you know, people who are burned or offended, you know, if you want to talk to me, we could talk offline, but there's no need to. I feel like we've covered that topic well in this particular session. So yes, I'm leaving. It happens. My broadcast is only an hour. I can't hold it down like Vegan Revolution, who did like a 4-hour live stream where he was converting people online. I don't have it like that. But I commend the brother for getting people online and like actually trying to help people transform right there on the spot. And I hope that through the conversation that we've had today, I hope it didn't feel too one-sided. I like it a lot more when you guys jump in. Wish I was on more than once a week. We'll see about that. I'll work on that. I've already been talking to some people about having an evening broadcast for the folks who are in other parts of the world where 11 o'clock in the morning just doesn't work for them. So, thank you. It's kind of all of you, and I really do appreciate all of your support. Things are sticky and icky, but let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. Okay? So that's it for this video. Those of you watching on YouTube, like it if you like it, share, comment. subscribe. This is Reg signing off. Love yourselves. Peace.